They handcuffed my 78-year-old father right there on the gravel. The same spot he taught me to bait a hook because he dared walk down to the old fishing dock his own grandfather built in 1923. Two armed guards, both looking nervous but acting tough, dragged Dad off the 2,300 acres and private lake I'd just inherited. He's lived here his whole life, hell. He taught half the neighborhood to fish on this water, never once caused anyone any trouble. But that morning, everything changed. The woman behind it? Bethany Cromwell, a lawyer out of California, all sharp heels and perfume, who got herself elected HOA president 6 months after moving in. She marches up, waving paperwork, and declares, "Our private lake now belongs to the community." Like that. Next thing I know, my father, a man respected by everyone within 10 miles, is arrested publicly in front of people who've known him for decades. Also, she could seize a property that stood half a century before her HOA even existed. I'll never forget the sound of those cuffs snapping shut on his trembling hands. The metallic click echoed across that quiet water, and right then, I knew they'd picked the wrong family to mess with. Funny thing, the very next morning, every single faucet in Willowbrook Estates ran dry. Poetic, isn't it? But let me back up, maybe you're wondering how we even got here. My name's Jackson Ridge. I'm 45, and last year I came home to Virginia for good 20 years in the Army Corps of Engineers, and then Dad finally said it was time for me to take over. This land, too, 300 rolling acres, forests, and Lake Serenity has been in my family since Calvin Coolidge was president. My grandfather, Earl Ridge, bought it in 1923 for $800 cash and 3 years sweat equity. The musty courthouse records still smell like the day I dug up those deeds. Earl built everything from scratch. He spent years digging out the lake by hand, stacking stone walls, designing it so the water flowed just right. That lake, 40 crystal clear acres, became the best fishing spot around. My dad, Harlan, kept it up for 50 more years. He never charged a dime for folks to fish, swim, or picnics, just like seeing families out here. I still remember summers when the air was thick with kids' laughter echoing across the water. Dad always said, "Good neighbors make good communities." I never planned to come back, but you know how life is, sometimes your roots call you home. It was fine until 2019, when some developer from California bought up the land next door and built Willowbrook Estates' 847 luxury homes, all marketed as exclusive lakefront living. Their sales brochures even used photos of our lake without asking, naturally promising all sorts of access and amenities they didn't actually control. For 4 years, things were mostly quiet. Then Bethany Cromwell arrives. All California attitude in a small-town world. Drives a Tesla, plates a Y1, no idea what that means, but she likes to show it off. She got herself elected HOA president and wasted no time. First week on the job, she shows up at our front door, stack of legal docs in hand, perfume strong enough to choke a horse, acting all sweet with Dad. "Mr. Ridge," she purrs, "I'm here to discuss our little access situation." Her solution? Pay the HOA $50,000 up front, plus $500 a month for maintenance, or lose all lake access. She starts citing some obscure county ordinance about public waterway rights, waving it like a sword. Dad tries to reason with her, explains that our property predates their whole development by nearly 100 years. Suggests maybe there's a way to work things out without strong-arming anyone. But her face changes. She drops the nice act. "Sir, I don't think you understand modern property law. Times have changed. Maybe it's time you changed too." Then she stalks off in her designer heels, gravel crunching like broken glass. The thread in her walk was as clear as anything she'd said. Within 48 hours, she escalates. The county inspector shows anonymous complaints about potential environmental hazards. They find nothing, of course, but the harassment has started. Dad starts having chest pains. Doctor blames the stress. This woman was literally making my father sick with her legal terrorism. It comes to a head 3 weeks ago. Dad attends the HOA meeting, hoping to find a bit of common ground. Instead, Bethany humiliates him in front of 200 neighbors, calls him a hoarder, says elderly residents who can't adapt might be happier in assisted living. The room goes dead, quiet. She just told a 78-year-old pillar of the community to go rot in a nursing home. It tastes bile. But she's not done. We're exploring all legal options to protect our community from environmental and safety hazards posed by the Ridge property. That night, Dad can't sleep, sits on the dock at 3 in the morning, staring at water his grandfather created. He looks at me and asks, "She's going to take it all, isn't she, son?" That's when it hit. His wasn't about neighborly disputes. Bethany had declared war on our family, and she didn't even know who she was up against. The next morning, she files an emergency injunction, claims Lake Serenity is a community asset being illegally withheld from public use. She actually argues that since Willowbrook residents used the lake for 4 years, they've established adverse possession rights. I remember my training: if you let folks use your land without written permission, you risk losing it entirely. Dad's handshake deals now looked like quicksand. 3 days later, she brings in a surveyor, some guy with shifty eyes, obviously in her pocket. They spend 6 hours remeasuring our boundaries, hammering stakes along the shoreline, discovering that the lake actually overlaps some community easement zones. From the kitchen window, I watched the metallic ring of their stakes echo across water that's been ours for a century. The fake survey ignores the underground springs that feed the lake. Any real engineer would spot them in a heartbeat. But accuracy isn't Bethany's goal. She just wants ammunition for her land grab. She goes public with her next movie, a press conference on our private beach, inviting reporters, setting up folding chairs, accusing my father of denying water access to families. It's like a burglar holding a press conference in your living room. But the slip-up comes when I overhear Bethany in the courthouse parking lot, thinking no one can hear her. The environmental angle isn't working fast enough. I need that lake drained and prepped for construction by spring. We already took the consultation fee. My blood runs cold. Sold out to developers to turn our lake into a golf course. And she's banking on my dad dying of stress. Now, here's the thing: 20 years in the Army Corps taught me something about water systems. Control the source. You control everything downstream. Our lake's fed by underground springs crossing 6 properties, including every Willowbrook home. Granddad's design was genius, gravity-fed, always the perfect pressure. But every Willowbrook well sits downstream from us. Cut the flow, and 847 homes lose water. Bethany's so busy trying to steal our lake, she doesn't realize she's threatening her own people's survival. That night, Dad and I walk the old stone channels by flashlight, him telling stories, me listening for clues. He smiles for the first time in weeks. Maybe it's time Bethany learned what water rights actually mean. Bethany overplays her hand, files for eminent domain, bribes the county assessor, has our property declared a public nuisance. But every bogus document is evidence. She's building our lawsuit for us, one fraudulent move at a time. That's when I decide to remind her and the whole HOA controls the water. She doesn't back off. If anything, she doubles down. Runs Save Our Community petitions, launches smear campaigns, claims I'm a dangerous veteran with PTSD, paints Dad as a menace. Even gets the local news to run a hit piece. Her consultant, who's actually her lawn guy, dumps motor oil near the water. Then she calls Channel 7. But I'm not new to dirty tricks. I catch it all on camera, time-stamped and documented. I call in Dr. Rebecca Martinez, a water quality expert, who blows the whistle, proves our lake is the cleanest around, while Bethany's evidence is just a setup. News retracts their story, and the community starts to wake up. People approach me quietly, worried about Bethany's tactics. Even a maintenance guy, Cisco, becomes my inside man. Turns out Bethany's been embezzling HOA funds, issuing bogus fines, and threatening families. The last straw comes when she tries to have Dad barred from the property with a restraining order, claiming he's dangerous. He just nods at her, like he always has, never raised his voice, never so much as thrown a harsh word. Sorting through Dad's old papers, I find something tucked away in an envelope from Granddad labeled Emergency Use Only. Inside is the original 1923 water rights agreement in ironclad, perpetual easement that gives the Ridge family exclusive control over every drop of water in a 5-mile radius, with a master valve hidden behind a split oak tree that can redirect all the water in the valley. It's like finding a golden ticket and a nuclear launch code in one. I realize if we use this, innocent people will suffer for Bethany's crimes. That's not who we are. But as Dad says, real power isn't what you can do, it's knowing when not to. We decide to make a stand that educates, not punishes. We gather evidence, set up cameras, prep the documents, and call a community meeting, invite everyone, even the news. Bethany comes dressed for war, projection screens ready, showing off her plans for a golf course and condos. She claims the Ridge family's greed is holding everyone back. That's when I step up, hand the 1923 documents to the county attorney in front of everyone. The Ridge family holds permanent, irrevocable control over the water supply, he announces. Gas go up. I call Cisco, who's standing by at the master valve. Over the loudspeaker, the whole community hears the ancient will turn, and within minutes, texts start pouring in no water from Willowbrook. Bethany's sprinklers sputter and die right outside the window. This is what happens when you try to steal from people who actually control the source, I say, before restoring the flow. Dad stands, old and proud, oxygen tank hissing. Miss Cromwell, you just learned what my grandfather taught me, can't steal water from folks who own the well. The place erupts. The FBI comes in, arrest Bethany on fraud, embezzlement, filing false reports, the works. 6 months later, she's in prison, community funds restored, and Lake Serenity's recognized as a county environmental treasure. The HOA reforms, with real oversight and transparency. Dad gets Beterno more chest pains, no more oxygen tank. Kids' laughter returns to the lake, and our family creates a scholarship to teach others how to defend their rights. I even run for county commissioner figure. Someone's got to stand up to the next Bethany before they start. Let me ask you, have you ever dealt with a bully hiding behind rules? Someone who thought power made them right? Drop your story below. Where do you draw the line between justice and revenge? And if you think knowledge is the best weapon, well, maybe now is a good time to dig up those old deeds you never know when you'll need them.
Cảm ơn tất cả các bạn đã xem video.